Hello. It's nice to see you all. I'm kind of curious before I get started, how many people have seen me do a talk here before? Okay, several of you. Okay, and then several new people. Well, fantastic. Let me kind of give you a sense of where I'm coming from. I'm a teacher of the esoteric philosophy, and much of my inspiration comes from theosophy and the work of Alice Bailey and also the work of Helena Roerich. And so I don't know to what extent you folks are familiar with that philosophy, but you're going to be by the end of the weekend, I assure you. My topic today and tomorrow is on revelation, holding the mind steady in the light. And what I'd like to do to start with this is to kind of give you an overview of the key subtopics that we're going to focus on during this weekend and give you the flavor of what this is all about. You know, it's interesting because really the subject of revelation is really a subject that's related to the topic of light. In a certain sense, all revelation is the revelation of some type of light. You know, for instance, we talk about the light of knowledge. Well, that's revelation. We talk about the light of intuition. That's revelation. And there's a vast, vast variety of types of light as understood in the esoteric philosophy. And so we'll be looking at some of those things. You know, it's kind of interesting when you think about the word light and how we use it. We use that in many interesting fashions. So, for instance, we might say, I would like to shed light on something, suggesting the revelatory nature of light. We might say that we're seeking enlightenment. Or we might say that we want to let's say, lighten something, meaning give it less weight. And the idea there is that when you have some sort of revelatory light come through your consciousness, it lightens uncertainty. It brings something understood to you that you didn't understand before, and in that sense, it's a light experience. One of the key concepts that I want you to hold throughout this weekend is this. This sentence: light is known by what it reveals. Light is known by what it reveals. That's a really, really important concept that I want you to hold. And we can look at it from a variety of perspectives. For instance, we could look at it, if I were to look at anything outside, let us say, or anything in this room, let us say that marker board. Well, light hits that marker board and hits my eye, so light is known by what it reveals. That concept is really important here, because the same is true with the light of knowledge, the light of love, the light of intuition. It's always understood through its revelatory capacity. That's why this is a seminar that has so much to do with light. Okay? So much to do with light. Another example of a use of the term is we might say that something dawned on us. Dawned on us. There again we have that idea that some light came to us. So what does it mean though? Why would we study light in this philosophy? Well, I'm going to use the word disciple here, and when I use the word disciple, for those of you who are new, a disciple is somebody who is trying to be a disciple of their own soul, to be a disciple of their own higher promptings. So today and tomorrow you'll hear me use the word disciple, not in the sense of following some guru or some theology. No, it's about following that higher part of you. And in fact, it has been said that the greatest master you could ever follow is the one least followed by most people, and that is your own soul, your own higher consciousness. That's the greatest source of light to be followed inside you. And it is a source of light. It is a source of light. But so why do we talk about it in this philosophy? Because to be a disciple means to be willing and able to bring light into the world in some way. To be able to be an agent on behalf of the greater life, which is what your soul is really all about. Your soul is a cell within a larger living system. And that larger living system, we could call that system God, we could call it the planetary logos, we could call it universal intelligence. But that your soul is a outpictured manifestation of that larger living system. It is a cell within it. And that larger system, let us say the planetary logos, the entity that ensouls the whole planet, that larger system in itself is evolving. In itself is evolving. Our God, our local God, which is the planetary logos, it's evolving over the vastness of time. And you and I are just the outpictured aspects of its consciousness. Every kingdom of nature is. Every kingdom. Whether we talk about the plant kingdom, the mineral kingdom, the animal kingdom, the human kingdom, all of those are just layers of consciousness within its beingness as it tries to manifest itself through this system of Earth. And it's trying to evolve its consciousness, and each of those layers, including the human layer, is just a part of its evolution. So as it evolves, as it intends, it's trying to convey its intention through you. Actually through you as soul, through you as causal body. And so you are, each of us is an agent on behalf of that greater life. And what is it that you're bringing forth? You're bringing forth light. The goal of discipleship, in many ways, is to be able to seed new ideas into the human condition. It's to receive some sort of intuitive understanding of something that then must be shaped into language, shaped into thought, shaped into a piece of art, shaped into an action, delivered into the outer world in some way, in hopes that it germinates and becomes an uplifting contribution to the betterment of something beyond herself. Because remember, that's what the soul wants to do. The soul in each one of us wants to make that uplifting contribution. In fact, there are 7 laws of the soul, we are told in the ancient literature, 7 laws of the soul. And the 3rd law is called the law of service. The soul wants to contribute to something beyond your individuality. And it has innate capacity. It has innate light in it. But it also has innate capacity to transmit from beyond itself, too. So some of the light that your soul is trying to convey to you, the personality, some of it is the wisdom that's stored in your own causal body, the soul consciousness itself. And then some of it is actually coming from beyond the soul, and that the soul acts as a conduit. It acts as a mediator between the greater life and humanity. And so it's very important to keep in mind that we're talking about a necessity of your life. We're talking about an evolutionary necessity to be a creative agent, to be an agent of revelation. That's what this is really about, to bring light into the world in some way, to nurture public opinion, to awaken right thought, to bring forth an embryonic concept and bring it into existence. In a certain sense, that's what this is all about in terms of what is evolution, really? What is evolution? Evolution could be understood as the constant unfolding of revelation over the vastness of time. We as a species, what causes us to evolve? Well, what is it that's evolving? What is the perpetuating force that facilitates human evolution? And the answer from the esoteric point of view is that it's our relationship to ideation, our relationship to ideas. We have insight, something happens. We have something inspires us. We have insight. We build thoughts around it. We find that those thoughts are useful. We as a species then apply them. We apply those thoughts to the different social institutions that we live within, whether it's politics, science, the arts, education, whatever it is. And they enrich us. We grow by those ideas. But then eventually every idea lives its course. Every idea that we as a species entertain kind of gives us everything that it can, and then it has to be let go in order to adopt the next idea, the next paradigm. And that letting go, by the way, is the tough part. And in many ways, what's happening in the world today, in terms of the crisis of the world today, is deeply related to that difficulty of letting go in order to integrate the new. We're in a huge, huge transitional period now, enormous period of life, a transition that offers us the ability as a species to enter what is called the first initiation. Humanity is approaching the first initiation, which has never happened before. Never in history have we come to this point. And as I did a talk up in Dublin a couple nights ago about this, and there's this notion of the burning ground, that always before a great initiation, humanity or an individual will have to walk across a burning ground. It's a testing time. It's a painful time. It's a time of crisis. And that crisis, that burning ground, can be discussed in the context of ideations. It can be talked about in the terms of the struggle that we have to let go of former ideas of how to be and how to interface with each other in order to adopt another paradigm, another set of ideas. And that's what's happening in the world today. Whether we're talking about the economic crisis and the thought forms that we have used for a long time that define how to behave economically, or we're talking about the environmental crisis, these are really just a recognition that thought forms that we have used for decades or centuries have run their course. And now they're counterproductive rather than productive. And yet the new ideas, the new revelations that are offered us are there too. And what do you have? You have a world right now in tremendous tension between identification with old ideas and grasping and yearning to live the new ideas. We're moving from ideas that represent, or former revelations that represent nationalism, patriotism, and we're trying to struggle to the next paradigm, which is not about nationalism or patriotism, but internationalism. Paradigms that focus not on smaller groups, but the one group. What's the one group? Humanity. We're trying to understand how to be one. And that requires a whole new set of ideations. Economic ideas, political, educational, religious. That's what the burning ground's about right now. That's what the burning ground's about. And as I mentioned to the group the other day in Dublin, and I think this would be helpful to share this with you here as we get into this subject of revelation, is that as humanity walks the burning ground, there are three groupings of people on that burning ground. And you've got a group of people that see that new paradigm, that have the revelation, that sense what it is that is next. And these are people that intuitively realize that even though it's dark and even though their feet are hot and burning, even though we're suffering, in the distance, just beyond the horizon, is dew-laden grass. And it's really cool. It's really cool. Really, really soft, moist. And it will create great comfort to the woundedness of the feet. Then you have another group of people. They're the people that are standing in this heated place, but they don't see. They don't have the revelation. They don't have an intuition that says, you know, there's a better world waiting for us just on the other side of the horizon. They don't have that. All they have is the reality that their feet are burning. It's hurting, and it seems every step forward it hurts more, because as they rightly surmise, I think. We're not quite at the hottest point of the coals yet. And they also fully realize that back there, it wasn't burning. Their feet weren't burning. So a growing number of people, and it is growing, are doing a whole 180-degree turn and are trying to run back to where they thought or remember it to be cool grass. Which is why you have this huge surge going on around the world toward conservative thinking, toward back to the basics. In religion you see it strongly. You see it in the movement toward fundamentalist theologies. You know, the fastest growing branch of all religions is the fundamentalist branch of the religion, the literalist branch. And because much of theology is degrading, except for that the branch is surging forward. That's a huge movement back. But it's not just theology. You see elements of it in science, in the arts, in education, back to the basics. It's a running back to what was comfortable before. So that's the second group, and they're growing in number. And that in itself is making this time really difficult, because not only are we faced with hot coals anyway, now we've got two great masses of people pulling in opposite directions, which is adding fuel, adding tension to the difficulty that's already there. It's the difference between Pisces and Aquarius. It's the difference between identification with ideas of the past versus identification with the revelations of the future. And then there's a third group. And the third group is the group that I'm particularly focused on. The third group is the group that the esoteric philosophy is trying to work with and nurture. And maybe the third group is where some of you are found. And the third group is just like the first group from one perspective. They intuit the dew-laden grass. They sense the revelation. They sense the new paradigms. They are in complete agreement with that first group. But one of the things that's different is this, that the first group, it's yearning for that light. It's yearning for that higher possibility. And it looks back at the retreating group and says, forget you. We're going this way. See you later. But this third group won't accept that. This third group sees the vision, but also feels a responsibility for the retreating group. Because there's this deep recognition that we're all in this together, and that no one can be left behind. The last weary pilgrim must come home. So there's a commitment to being a bridging agent, to see the vision, to sense that new revelations, those revelations that will transform, and at the same time be a voice that has the power to transform the fear, the insecurities of the past, and bridge it to the future. That's what this is about. That's what this philosophy is about. That's what this work is about. That's what this seminar is about from a certain perspective, having to do with the nature of light. The nature of light. In this philosophy, they're called the new group of world servers. Maybe some of you have heard that term, the new group of world servers. The new group of world servers is the sum total of all people in the world who have had some measure of recognition of their soul consciousness, are trying to identify with it and live from that place as best they can, and are also feeling a profound responsibility to make that contribution on behalf of the welfare of the whole, not just the striving few. The new group of world servers is growing in numbers. They're now in their millions, and many of you, maybe all of you, are part of it whether you realize it or not. And what's really interesting about that group is that we're told that the masters, the great liberated souls who have gone before us, they look at that new group of world servers, and what do they see? One entity, one being. And they have another name for that being. They call that being the world disciple, the world disciple. And much of our future survival will be based upon how well that group does, how well they can sense the light, how well they can convey that light and shape it into language, shape it into expression in such a way that it will transform the old rather than continue to polarize the old. I hope you're with me. Do you follow me?